Have you ever lain down tired, closed your eyes, and nothing happened? Your head spins, the clock ticks, and your body begs for rest. But it simply doesn't come. The room is quiet. The pillow is in the right position. The blanket is cozy, but for some reason sleep doesn't arrive. Minutes turn into hours, and as the night progresses, tiredness gives way to frustration. The body is exhausted, but the mind seems accelerated, as if it hadn't received the message that it's time to shut down. This has a name, has an explanation, and yes, has a solution. What few people frankly discuss is that this problem is much more common than it seems, especially after 60. Thousands of elderly people face such nights every week. For many, this happens almost daily. And most concerning is that over time, some become convinced that poor sleep is part of aging, as if it were natural or inevitable. But this idea is mistaken. Sleep may change with age, yes, but sleeping well remains a right and a necessity at any stage of life. Lack of sleep goes far beyond simple nighttime discomfort. It deeply affects quality of life. An elderly person who sleeps poorly feels the effects in body and mind. Memory fails, attention decreases, mood changes, fatigue accumulates. Simple activities like walking, reading, or talking become more difficult. Immunity weakens, the risk of heart disease increases, and even balance is affected, which can lead to dangerous falls. Sleep is like a natural medicine that the body needs to take every day. When this medicine fails, the entire organism suffers the consequences. And it's not just those suffering from insomnia who are affected. Family members also notice. Children notice when their mother or father is more irritable, quieter, more forgetful. Grandchildren notice when grandfather dozes during the day and seems absent in conversations. There's a silent worry that surrounds the home. Is everything okay? Is it normal to sleep so poorly? These questions hang in the air, often unanswered. But behind this reality, there's also hope. And to show this, I want to tell you the story of Ms. Alice. She's 74, has lived alone since becoming a widow, and has always been very active. She likes to care for plants, watch soap operas, chat with neighbors. But about 2 years ago, she began to notice that her nights were different. Even when she went to bed early, it took her a long time to fall asleep. And when she finally managed to sleep, she would wake up several times during the night, for no reason. In the morning, she would get up feeling like she hadn't rested at all. The day would start with leg pain, lack of energy, and an enormous desire to stay in bed, even knowing that would only make the following night worse. At first, she thought it was just a phase. Then she thought it was age. But time passed, and the situation only worsened. She tried calming teas, did meditation, even changed her mattress. Nothing seemed to help. And the hardest part was seeing how it affected her mood. She stopped going out frequently, stopped participating in church activities, began to avoid visits. Sadness and isolation approached subtly but constantly. Ms. Alice began to think she was falling into depression. And perhaps she was, because sleep has that power. When it leaves, it takes with it much of the joy of living. But everything began to change when she discovered something she had never considered. She was talking with a neighbor who also complained of insomnia and heard a phrase that kept hammering in her head. Sometimes it's just what we eat. That lit a bulb. Could her diet be hindering or helping her sleep? She decided to research. She discovered that there are foods that have the power to calm the body, relax muscles, stimulate the production of sleep hormones. And most curiously, many of them were things she already had at home, but was using incorrectly or at the wrong times. Ms. Alice began to test, with care and guidance. Gradually, she noticed the difference. She changed what she ate at night, started making small combinations of foods that favored rest, and the result was surprising. In a few weeks, she was already sleeping more easily. In 2 months, she began sleeping through the night, something that hadn't happened in years. She returned to walking, returned to smiling, returned to living. The transformation was visible, and the best part, it happened naturally without having to resort to strong medications or complicated solutions. That's why we're here, because Ms. Alice's story can be yours too. And you don't need to wait for the situation to become severe to start changing. Nutrition plays a powerful role in how our body functions, and sleep is no exception. What you eat, and especially how and when you eat, can directly interfere with the quality of your rest. There are substances present in natural foods that help induce sleep, such as tryptophan, magnesium, natural melatonin, and even some antioxidants. The secret is knowing which these foods are and how to combine them in your routine. And we're not talking about expensive or hard-to-find things. We're talking about simple, accessible foods that you can find at the farmer's market, supermarket, or even in your kitchen right now. Things like fruits, grains, seeds, light dairy products, and even a type of tea that can make all the difference. The problem is that nobody teaches us this. We grow up learning to take medication to sleep, but almost never hear that food can be a safer and more effective path. The truth is that our body knows how to sleep. It just needs the right conditions for it. And nutrition is one of these conditions. Sometimes we spend years fighting insomnia when what's missing is just an adjustment in what we put on our plate. Sleeping well doesn't have to be a privilege for few. It can be a reality for you too, even if today it seems impossible. Don't worry, because in this video you'll learn solutions that really work. We're going to talk about 6 foods that help the body relax, slow down, and enter the state of rest it so desperately needs. You'll understand how these foods act in the body, at what time of day they work best, and how you can incorporate them into your routine in a simple way, without having to change everything at once. These are small actions that, when combined, generate great results. And most importantly, we're not talking about far-fetched recipes or miraculous promises. What we'll show here is based on science, observation, and life experience. These are strategies that respect your rhythm, your body, and your history. Because each person is unique, and the path to quality sleep also needs to respect this individuality. There is no magic formula, but there is indeed a possible path, and you're about to discover it. So take a deep breath. If today you're tired, irritated with a heavy head and burning eyes from trying to sleep and not being able to, know that there is hope. You are not alone. Thousands of people have gone through this and found relief. And you can find it too. You just need to take the first step, which is understanding what's behind your interrupted sleep. From here, we'll go together. In the next section, we'll better understand why so many people, especially the elderly, have difficulty sleeping. We'll talk about the natural changes in the body over the years, the most common mistakes made in trying to solve the problem, and what really disrupts rest, even when we think we're doing everything right. All this to prepare the ground for the practical tips that will follow. But for now, the most important message is, sleeping well is possible. And with the right foods, you can reclaim your nights of sleep, your energy, and your quality of life. Let's continue together on this journey. Sleeping well is possible. That's the most important message. But for this to truly happen, it's necessary to understand what's behind those sleepless nights, especially in old age. It's not by chance that so many people over 60, 70, or even 80 years old begin to have difficulties sleeping. It's a process that has natural explanations, but also involves daily habits that we often don't even notice. And when we combine one thing with another, the changes in the body with attitudes that disrupt sleep, the problem intensifies. But calm down. This doesn't mean there's no solution. Quite the opposite. The body can relearn to sleep as long as we know what to avoid and what to do. And that's what we're going to understand now. As the years go by, the body undergoes transformations that directly affect sleep. One of the most important is the natural decrease in melatonin production, the hormone that signals to the body that it's time to rest. Melatonin is like an internal clock that helps regulate the sleep cycle. When it begins to fall, the body loses part of this reference. This causes it to take longer to fall asleep, or makes sleep lighter and more fragmented. This is common, but it doesn't need to be accepted as something definitive. In addition, many elderly people face chronic pain, such as arthritis, arthrosis, spine, or leg problems. Constant pain directly interferes with sleep quality. Anyone who has tried to sleep while feeling physical discomfort knows how difficult it is to truly relax. And if, beyond pain, there is worry, anxiety, feelings of loneliness or grief, the body enters a state of alert. Even without realizing it, the mind remains active, reliving memories, anticipating problems, or ruminating thoughts. This prevents the deep relaxation necessary for good sleep. Another important point that few people associate with sleep is exposure to natural light. With age, it's common to spend more time indoors, whether for safety, physical limitation, or even out of habit. But sunlight plays a fundamental role in regulating the circadian rhythm, which is our biological clock. When we spend the entire day in enclosed spaces with artificial lighting, the body becomes confused. It doesn't really know when it's day and when it's night. This disrupts the production of sleep and wakefulness hormones, and of course, we can't forget to mention the lack of physical activity. A body that moves during the day rests better at night. A body that spends the day still, without stimulation, often doesn't feel enough physical tiredness to shut down. And even if an elderly person feels mental or emotional fatigue, this doesn't replace the need to move the body. A light walk, stretching, small household chores, all of this helps regulate sleep. Now, beyond these natural factors and lifestyle, there are also habits that many people have which, without realizing, end up making things even worse. One of the most common mistakes is drinking coffee, black tea or soda in the afternoon or evening. Even if a person says they don't feel any effect, caffeine continues to act in the body for many hours. A coffee at 5 in the afternoon might be sabotaging your sleep at 10 at night. And the same goes for mate tea, chocolate, and even some medications that have hidden caffeine in their formula. Another habit that seems harmless but can cause a lot of damage is eating poorly at night. Some people eat too much dinner, consuming very heavy, fatty, or spicy foods before bed. Others do the opposite. They eat very little dinner, or even skip dinner, thinking it will help them lose weight or sleep better, but an empty or too full stomach are obstacles to deep sleep. The ideal is a balance, neither hunger nor excess. The body needs a light, nutritious, and relaxing meal before sleeping. There are also those who, out of desperation, resort to sleep medications on their own. This is very dangerous. Some medicines may induce sleep quickly, but they cause dependency, alter brain function, and don't promote true rest. The person wakes up groggy, with a heavy head, and feels even more tired the next day. And worst of all, often these medications are used without medical supervision, which increases the risk of falls, mental confusion, and other side effects. Another subtle but very common mistake is maintaining very restrictive diets or skipping meals, especially out of health concerns. Of course, eating in balance is important, but when the body lacks nutrients, it also becomes dysregulated. Sometimes, lack of sleep is linked to the lack of a simple mineral like magnesium or potassium, substances that help relax muscles, calm the mind, and prepare the body for rest. And do you know where we find these nutrients? In simple foods, which you'll learn about in the next section. There is also a very common habit among people of all ages, but one that is especially harmful for older people: eating sugar or white flour before bed. That slice of cake at night, that bread with butter, that cookie to accompany tea. All this seems harmless, even tasty and comforting. But what happens inside is quite different. These foods cause spikes in blood sugar, which then drop rapidly, creating an imbalance in the body. The body goes on alert, sleep is interrupted, the heart races, and often the person doesn't even realize that this was what disturbed them. When all of this comes together, the natural changes of aging with misguided habits, the result is fragmented, light, or even non-existent sleep. And the consequences don't take long to appear. The increased risk of falls is one of the most serious. An elderly person who doesn't sleep well loses reflexes, feels dizzy, and lacks balance. A simple stumble can turn into a serious fracture, and after a fall, recovery tends to be slower, more delicate, and affects the entire routine. But here comes the good part. All of this can be changed. The body can relearn how to sleep. The mind can find peace again, and it all starts with simple choices. Diet is one of the most powerful keys in this process, and the beauty of it lies in the fact that a revolution isn't necessary. Small adjustments made with awareness and regularity already begin to bring results. Nature is wise. It offers us natural substances that act directly on sleep mechanisms. Tryptophan, for example, is an amino acid that helps produce serotonin and melatonin, essential for rest. Magnesium helps relax muscles and the nervous system. And all of this can be found in foods that are within our reach every day. These nutrients, when combined at the right time, help the body enter a more peaceful rhythm. They signal that it's time to slow down, to disconnect, to allow the body to rest and regenerate. We're not talking about complicated, expensive, or inaccessible solutions. We're talking about simple choices that, when made consistently, change everything. And more importantly, they are choices that respect your body, your time, your way of living. Many people go through this and make these mistakes without realizing it. But stay calm, because in the next section we're going to talk about what really works. You'll discover 6 foods that can help improve your sleep quality. You'll learn how to use each one, the best time to consume them, and how to combine them to enhance their effects. You'll see that, with care and attention to what we put on our plate, it's possible to transform your nights, and your days too. So don't get discouraged. What seems difficult today can become natural tomorrow. Your body hasn't forgotten how to sleep well. It just needs to be reminded, and we'll show you how. Let's go together. Now that we've understood what's behind difficult sleep in older age, it's time to look forward, to talk about real, accessible solutions that can transform your nights. Not with far-fetched promises, but with simple, everyday things that make a real difference. And it all starts with a decision to take better care of yourself. Your body wants to sleep. It needs to sleep. And with the right help, it can return to doing this naturally. The good news is that nature offers powerful allies, foods that have the power to calm, relax, and prepare the body for a deep and restorative night's sleep. The first tip is an old acquaintance, but perhaps you're not using it in the ideal way yet. The banana. This common fruit is a true gift for those who want to sleep better. It's rich in magnesium and potassium, 2 minerals that help relax muscles and calm the nervous system. Additionally, it contains tryptophan, a substance that the body transforms into serotonin and melatonin, 2 fundamental elements for peaceful sleep. The best time to consume a banana is about an hour before bed, and a good idea is to combine it with oats, creating a light, nutritious, and extremely effective snack. And if you want to enhance the effect even more, a cup of chamomile tea along with this combination works wonders. Now tell me in the comments, where are you from? And if you identified with any of the habits we've discussed so far. Your experience can help others who are also going through this. And by sharing your story, you take the first step toward this change that begins within you. Going back to solutions, let's talk about oats now. This food is much more powerful than it seems. Besides providing fiber and helping control blood sugar, it's an excellent source of slow-absorption carbohydrates. This means it helps the tryptophan from the banana, for example, reach the brain more easily and be transformed into hormones that induce sleep. A tablespoon of oats can be used in a light porridge or simply sprinkled over mashed banana. It's simple, tasty, and highly effective. If this makes sense to you, share it with someone who also needs this information. It can make all the difference. Sometimes a small gesture like this can help a friend, a neighbor, or a family member sleep better, and thereby live better. Let's continue with another valuable tip: nuts and almonds. These foods contain good amounts of magnesium, which is essential for muscle relaxation and for reducing cortisol levels, the stress hormone. A small portion, 5 or 6 units, is already sufficient. You can eat them with a fruit or even mixed in a light yogurt. And here's an important point. They are also rich in good fats, which help keep the body nourished during the night without causing digestive discomfort. This contributes to a more continuous and deep sleep. Speaking of yogurt, it leads us to the next important food: milk and its light derivatives. Warm milk, for example, is a classic natural remedy for those who want to sleep well. But why does it work? Because it also contains tryptophan and calcium, 2 components that act directly in the production of serotonin. It's important to make a distinction here. We're not talking about industrialized dairy drinks full of sugar, but rather natural milk or whole yogurt without added artificial sweeteners. And of course, those with lactose intolerance need to look for lactose-free versions or talk to a nutritionist about suitable substitutions. Another classic ally that cannot be missed is chamomile. It's not a solid food, but its effect on sleep has been known for centuries. Chamomile tea has a calming effect, helps reduce anxiety, and prepares the body for rest. The correct way to prepare it is to let the infusion steep for at least 10 minutes with the cup covered, so that the plant's essential oils are preserved. Drink the tea 20 to 30 minutes before lying down, preferably in silence, with low light. And if you want, combine this moment with deep, slow breathing, which further helps signal to the body that it's time to shut down. Finally, honey, a natural, simple food full of benefits. A small teaspoon of honey before bed can help the body release insulin, which facilitates the entry of tryptophan into the brain. You can consume honey pure, mixed with warm milk, or even in chamomile tea if you prefer. Additionally, honey helps maintain stable glucose levels during the night, which prevents those sudden awakenings caused by hypoglycemia. It's a sweet but functional ally when used in moderation. If you like content like this, click like, subscribe, and activate the bell to receive more health and wellness tips. Here, we talk about simple things that truly do good. And when you support this type of content, it reaches more people who also need this care. Now that you know these 6 foods and how to use them correctly, it's time to think about your routine as a whole. Because more important than consuming these items once in a while is creating a pattern, a nightly ritual that prepares your body for sleep. Ideally, about an hour before your usual bedtime, you should start to slow down. Avoid bright lights, turn off the television, put away your phone. Create a calm, quiet, and comfortable environment. Drink your tea, eat your light snack, breathe deeply, and let your body realize it's time to rest. Another important tip is to have relatively fixed times for sleeping and waking, even on weekends. This helps regulate the biological clock and reinforces the natural sleep cycle. And remember to expose yourself to sunlight during the day. It could be a walk in the yard, a stroll on the street early in the morning, or even opening the windows of the house wide. Natural light signals to the brain that it's daytime, and this promotes melatonin production when night falls. With these simple guidelines, you can already start transforming your nights. But if you want to take a step further and solve this once and for all, check out the link we left here in the description with more detailed guidance. There you'll find complimentary information, menu suggestions, recipes, and other strategies that can make your journey even lighter and more effective. Even if you haven't slept well for years, your body still has the ability to restore sleep. It's never too late. Sleeping is a natural function of the organism, and when you provide the right conditions, it responds. Do a small test today. Choose one of these foods and try it. Your body might surprise you. Sometimes the biggest transformation begins with a small gesture, but done with care, done with intention. You deserve peaceful nights and days full of energy. Take care of yourself. Sleeping well is living better. And yes, it is possible. We're together on this journey.